of years, and to getting to know you better. You know that you've already been assigned to an academic advisor that I made you promise that you wouldn't contact them quite yet. And I appreciate your willingness to wait to make contact with them, but you can at least get some introduction to them this afternoon. So, with that, we're going to move into this session. We are going to attempt to record this because we do have a couple of people who could not be with us. We have a couple of faculty who had previous engagements, etc. And then for anybody who needs to go back over this information, there will be a recording that will be available for you on our program website. So with that, let me make one comment about our nccucounseling.com website. Most of you are very familiar with that website because I send you there when you make an initial contact asking about our program. And that's so that we have a very accurate and up-to-date, very current place for you to gather information. We will talk more about that website this afternoon in the orientation, but you're going to want to star this site for yourself because there will be opportunities for you to find all kinds of information that you will need while you're in the program, whether it's current announcements that are coming up, whether it is forms that you may need to fill out, whether it is your program of study so that you can see what you'll be held responsible for completing while you're in the program, to job opportunities, to reminders about things, to opportunities that may be available for students. You'll be able to see a whole host of information there. So I want you to get it firmly planted in your mind that that is your source of information. That's your go-to place. And I know that in today's world, we have lots of avenues for information, even about the counseling program. Um, but this program website, we manage this, and it will always be your most accurate source of information. So I'd like for us to make some introductions here at the beginning, and I'm going to ask our faculty to introduce themselves. But if we look at the next slide, it tells you a little bit about who we are. We are right now housed in a department called the Department of Allied Professions. By the fall, when you start, we are going through a name change right now, and by the fall, when you're really with us full time, we're going to be called Counseling and Higher Education. So our department has gone through a reorganization in the past year, and is housed within the School of Education, which is divided into two major departments. One is Allied Professions, soon to be called Counseling and Higher Ed, and the other is Curriculum and Instruction. So we have two departments within the School of Ed. Dr. Audrey Beard is the Dean of the School of Education, and Dr. Jeff Warren is our Associate Dean. They are both highly supportive of the counseling program. Dr. Warren joined the NCCU administration this past year and has already made quite a successful splash with everybody. He is a counselor educator himself. So we've got an administrator who knows a whole lot about how counseling needs to operate within a school of education. And Dean Beard has been a wonderfully supportive dean in our School of Education at large, and particularly for the counseling program. And we are very grateful for both Dr. Beard and Dr. Warren's support. These two programs within this department are graduate programs, and the department is chaired by Dr. Chad Royal. He will be introducing himself in just a few minutes. As you know, we are accredited by, the acronym is pronounced CACREP, the Council for the Accreditation of Counseling and Related Educational Programs. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We're also listed in the International Registry of Counselor Education Programs, IRSEP. The program at this moment in time has approximately 145 full or part-time graduate students and 12 faculty members. We have both campus and online programs in clinical mental health, career counseling, and school counseling. We also have coursework that is required for the clinical addiction specialist license in North Carolina, and we will have some introduction to that a little bit later in our presentation in the event our clinical mental health people are interested in adding that on. I am the program coordinator, and Miss Jules Joyner is our everything. She's our administrative assistant, and we can't underscore enough how she keeps us all on point and running. And so I would star her name if I were you. Many of you have already had contact with Miss Joyner. And she is always highly responsive and gets you to the right people in the university at large, and within our program and department. So I just wanted to give you the wider context of what the School of Education looks like and what our department looks like. Many of you are online students, and you may have limited opportunity to actually be physically on campus while you're in the program. So I wanted you to understand sort of what the context looks like. For those of you who may come to campus, we are located on the second floor of the School of Education building on our campus. So with that, I would like to just run through our faculty so that you can put a face with a name. So on the next slide, Dr. Warren, are you with us by chance? I am not seeing him here. He is
I don't believe I invited him. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's all right. I think I had let him know about this, but he's the person who joined us this year as the Associate Dean. He's an Associate Professor of Counseling. Because he comes from the counselor ed background, is a licensed clinical mental health supervisor and a licensed school counselor. He has authored several things. You can read those here, and has a research focus on educational access and equity. And we are very pleased that Dr. Warren has joined our team within the School of Education. And what I'm doing for you is I'm outlining sort of the chain of command. So we have Dean Beard as being the person in charge, our dean over the School of Education, Dr. Warren being the associate dean. And on the next slide, we see Dr. Chad Royal. You just heard his voice a minute ago, and I'm going to see if he would like to bring greetings, and we'll just run through the faculty at this point. Dr. Royal?
Thank you. And I really won't say too much. I do want to say congratulations to everybody for your admission to the program. And we appreciate you selecting us over all the other program choices that you had. If I can be of any assistance during the time in which you're in your program, then please don't hesitate to get in touch with me.
Thank you, Dr. Royal. He is a very humble person. He is the co-author of 2 textbooks. He's a licensed clinical mental health supervisor. He's got multiple years of experience working in mental health and in schools. He has a private practice where he sees both clients and supervisees who are going toward their license in North Carolina. And he is our technology guru, and for the whole School of Education, really. But we've been so fortunate. We now have some other faculty members who have that same expertise. And so technologically, we will be very solid here during your time in the program. But Dr. Royal maintains our website for us. Even though he is now our department chair, he graciously continues that responsibility. So that guarantees that the information off of that website I was talking about at the beginning will always be absolutely current. So the next person that we have here is Dr. Barrow. Dr. Barrow, can you bring greetings to folks?
I just really want to echo what Dr. Royal said and to say welcome. I am Jenny Barrow. I'm a veteran school counselor, so I like to say I'm a school counselor turned counselor educator. And just honestly, thank you for choosing us. We won't let you down. If I can be an assistance, please let me know.
So Dr. Barrow is the director of the school counseling track. For the most part, when I made the academic advisor assignments, I tried to pair you with somebody who's got some kind of experience and credential in what you're studying. That doesn't always come out 100%. Most of our folks are flexible folks in terms of many have dual licenses, 3 licenses, that kind of thing. But Dr. Barrow is our very capable director of the school counseling track. And you're looking at the 2019 Counselor Educator of the Year from North Carolina, from the North Carolina School Counseling Association. So shout out to Dr. Barrow. Dr. Beckwith, can you bring greetings?
Hello, yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're really excited to have you. And, as everyone has already stated, congratulations on your admission, and thank you for selecting us. I'm really excited to meet many of you, or most of you, or as many of you as I can. And please feel free to reach out if I can be of assistance as you move through the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beckwith. We added 2 new faculty this past year, and Dr. Beckwith is one of those. And she brings a whole lot of experience in clinical mental health settings. And we're just very pleased that she chose to be at NCCU also. Next, we have Dr. Blunt. I just put folks in alphabetical order. So, Dr. Blunt, if you'll bring greetings.
Welcome, everyone. It's so great to see familiar faces. As everyone said, we're so happy that you have selected North Carolina's Central University as your graduate studies program. We know that you're going to lead the program ready to enter into the field of counseling, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Dr. Blunt. One important role that Dr. Blunt plays within our program is that she is designated as our current field site coordinator. So you will be hearing from her about what's involved in the practicum and internship, how to choose a field site experience that will be high quality for you. She will give you tips about selection. She has some resources, particularly in the Triangle region, that she'll share with you. So you'll be very well versed. We start that early in the program so that you can begin to think about, where am I going to eventually have my supervised practice within the program? So she will be the point person to help you with the field site coordination for yourself. Thank you, Dr. Blunt. The next person is Dr. Hicks Beckton, and I will ask Dr. Beckton if she will bring welcome to all of you.
So, hi everyone. Welcome to North Carolina Central and to the Counselor Education Program. We're glad to have you here. So you'll note that Dr. Whiting called me Dr. Becton, so that is my preference. You'll see Hicks Becton on everything, but Dr. Becton is my preference. And I have the privilege of teaching Introduction to Addictions Counseling. So if you take that course, you'll get to see me there, perhaps also in assessment or diagnosis or even a field experience. So those are the things that I enjoy the most. I look forward to seeing you all, and welcome to NCCU again.
So Dr. Becton is one of our 2 faculty members who is an LCAS person, a licensed clinical addiction specialist. And she and Dr. Horn both carry that specialty designation, and they help teach the sequence that is involved in our status as a Criteria C program. And if all of that sounds unfamiliar to you, I'm going to ask Dr. Horn when we get to him to talk a little bit about that. And I believe he's next. Thank you, Dr. Becton. Dr. Horn, are you with us?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you
Okay.
now.
Congratulations to everyone. I'm so happy to have all of you coming into the program. I think you're going to really enjoy the NCCU family as well as the counselor education program. I am an alumni of the program, and it was so good I thought I'd come back and teach in it. So I hope you'll feel the same way when you come through and graduate. I serve as the director of the Addiction Studies Certificate Program. It's a phenomenal program that meets all of the requirements for the Criteria C addiction certification. We are Criteria C school for addiction. That means that we have the gold standard accreditation for training licensed clinical addiction specialists. Our program has been very fortunate in that we have produced over 25 national fellows and over 15 Governor Institute scholars. And our program has only been in existence about 5 years, but our students have accumulated over $400,000 in scholarships and grants, and we have produced more National Board for Certified Counselors MFP fellows than any other counseling program in the country. So that kind of speaks to the quality of our program and the growth and success of the addictions program here at North Carolina Central. And I would ask that you consider it as you pursue your other degrees. Consider that license as well. And if you're interested in it, you can send me an email in the fall once the summer is over. You'll have time, and I'll have time to really review it then. So, but feel free to contact me anytime. And like the rest of the faculty, I look forward to talking to you.
Thank you, Dr. Horn. Our next person is Dr. Kelly King. Dr. King. I believe she's here. Thought I saw her earlier. Maybe she's not with us this afternoon. Dr. King she's a licensed clinical mental health counselor, and she teaches, many of you will come to know her in her work in the Intro to Clinical Mental Health class. Her research focus is on culturally responsive skills and multicultural orientation for counselors in training. And she is a co-advisor with Dr. Scott, who you'll meet in a minute, for our NCCU chapter of Chi Sigma Iota, which is the International Counseling Honors Society. So you'll come to know Dr. King through that role. Our next person is Dr. Kurian. Dr. Kurian, are you with us?
I am. Hello, everybody. Greetings. We're so glad that you have selected NCCU for your education, specifically our counseling program, and become an Eagle. We're so excited. We have a wonderful counseling program. I've been here about 16 years and have enjoyed teaching in many topics and subjects, including multicultural and assessment, advanced assessment, ed research. So I look forward to having you in one of my classes, and all the best to you as you prepare over the summer and relax and get prepared for the fall. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Kurian. Dr. Kurian serves as the director of the clinical mental health counseling track. So in the same capacity as Dr. Barrow does for the school track. Our next person is Dr. Helen Lupton Smith. She is unable to be with us this afternoon. However, I wanted to make an introduction of her to you. She was the second new faculty this past year. She joins us as an associate professor of counseling. She had been on the faculty at North Carolina State and North Carolina A&T universities previously. So we're very fortunate to have a person with lots of experience delivering programs and being a professor. So her research interests are around supervision and also around wellness and engagement and access for underserved community members. That's Dr. Lupton Smith. Our next person is Dr. Scott. I believe she's with us this afternoon. Dr. Scott?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I guess I should have been underneath B because I'm from the Bahamas. So I think you guys missed me from the front. No, I'm Dr. Scott. I'm originally from the Bahamas. And I'm across the three of the areas. I'm a licensed school counselor, licensed clinical associate, and also I do my career research and career counseling. You would definitely see me because I am the group counseling guru, they call me. I love it. I love it. I love it. You can ask Damien. I see one of my students who's here now, one of our students. I just love teaching group counseling and intro to school counseling. So you're going to see me in those areas as well. Welcome. We are so happy that you're here. Dr. Whiting, I need to change this picture because it doesn't look like me anymore.
Well, Dr. Scott, I thought that when I was putting this together, and we will allow you the opportunity to give us a more current picture. So thank you. Dr. Scott is the director of the career counseling track. So we have Dr. Barrow in school, Dr. Scott, and Dr. Kurian lead our three programs. Thank you, Dr. Scott. Our next person is Dr. Gavin Williams. I believe she's with us. Dr. Williams?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to NCCU. Congratulations for your acceptance into our counseling program. And we appreciate you choosing us. And we're excited to help you along this journey to become a counselor. So, again, my name is Dr. Regina Gavin Williams. And you'll probably see me either teaching practicum or your vocational theory and career development course. I've also taught multicultural and gender issues in counseling. So again, welcome. I'm excited that you're joining us, and I look forward to teaching you in one of those courses.
Thank you. Dr. Gavin Williams is the coordinator of the Higher Education Administration program, the other program housed within our department. And then you have already been introduced to me. I've been here for about 16 years, and I've served as the program coordinator for 7 or 8 of those. I've enjoyed being in that role, and it gives me an opportunity to get to know all of you from the beginning. And one of the most wonderful vantage points that I get is that I get that initial, I think I'm thinking about the whatever program at Central. I get to see you from there on the stage, walking across the stage at graduation and being hired. And that's a wonderful vantage point to be able to see you from start to finish. And I will tell you that my experience tells me that you will not be the same person as you are today when you get to the other end of this program. This program really transforms people, not only professionally, but personally, because your worldview will be expanded, your exposure will be expanded, and it will leave you in a situation to really be changed. And you'll be able to see that if you talk with our students that are later in the program than you are, and you'll have that opportunity to interact with them. You will find that to be the case. They will say, "Oh yeah, I'm quite different than I was earlier." So that's our team.
And she is also the 2020 Administrator of the Year Award from North Carolina Counseling Association. Yay!
Thank you so very much. The thing about that particular honor was that Dr. Scott and others put my name forward. It was a gigantic surprise. I could hardly even take it in. So, and at that same conference, Dr. Gavin Williams was the recipient of the 2020 Devoted Service Award from the North Carolina Counseling Association. So we were very well represented actually at NCCA. This year we'll be talking about that organization a little bit later. So we're going to move ahead now. Miss Joyner, are you here? Is Jules Joyner here? Is she hiding out somewhere?
I'm here.
See, and look what we've done again, Jules. How is it that we don't have a slide on you? And I want to just publicly apologize for that being not here. We will make sure we don't make that mistake again. But Jules, as I said, is our go-to for everything. If you need to know, how do I get something fixed? She is your ticket. I will tell you that, and I will lump Dr. Royal in on this, that although he's the department chair and I'm the coordinator, if you've got an issue, you might want to start with Jules, and because she can fix about 98% of those, or if it needs to go to another person, she's very well connected on campus. Jules, you've been with us how many years now?
6 years, I think.
6 years, and you've been at NCCU for how long?
Fall of 2007.
Okay, so you can tell that she's a person who has been around for a while. She knows how to navigate the university. She has many relationships with folks all over in different aspects on campus that you will be interested in. So we're going to move ahead with our program. Jules, anything else you want to say to folks?
No, just welcome. And like Dr. Whiting said, if you need anything, just call or email and we'll take care of it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jules. And I'm going to spontaneously call on my graduate assistant, Damon Toon, who doesn't think that I'm going to call on him right now. But Damon is about halfway through the program. He is a graduate assistant assigned to me. And so he helps me with all kinds of things, including helping with making your transition from being admitted to coming into the program seamless. So Damon, if you'll just say a couple of words to folks, that'd be great.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you are having a great Friday, and no better place to be than on this webinar other than in person, but that'll come in time. I'm thrilled to meet and get to know each and every one of you and tell you that you're in great hands. A few years ago, I made a big decision to leave a long career and a job to go and get educated and learn some more things. And as Dr. Whiting says, wow, my mind has been expanded, my perspective has grown, and it's all because we have extremely great faculty here. So congratulations on being an Eagle, and yay, good to talk to you guys.
Sometimes, thank you, Damon, for doing that spontaneously. Sometimes our current graduate assistants are good people for you to connect with just as a new student, because they can give you more of the student side of how to navigate the program. than a faculty member can, or they give you a different perspective. So I encourage you, Ms. Joyner can help get you, or I can help get you in contact with one of our current GAs should you want to talk to somebody that's got a little bit of experience in the program. So we want to give you a broad perspective of our program this afternoon, and I'm going to end with some very specific, detailed information that applies to you right now. But if we can start with the wider picture, and I'm going to go through some of this information a little rapidly because I know that you're new and some of this information will only be relevant to you down the road. But I want you to get the larger picture here in the orientation, and then we'll end with the specifics that will bring it in to the specifics that relate to you most right now. So on our nccucounseling.com website, you will find a copy of our Counselor Education Student Handbook, a digital copy. So you can, at any time during your matriculation in the program, you can click on this and find procedures and policies that relate to being in our program. Some of those are academic, some of those are professional, some of those are very detailed procedures with how to do X, Y, or Z. But that policy sort of handbook is there for you, and you can have access to the digital copy that's there. On the next slide, we've already talked about some of this, but we are CACREP accredited. CACREP sets the national standards for counselor education programs. So CACREP says, here's what we deem to be the competencies of folks who graduate from a CACREP accredited program. So whether you went to a program in Oregon or Vermont or Florida or North Carolina, if the program is CACREP accredited, the standards are the same. The titles of the courses may vary slightly, but the standards relate to competencies that now this overriding organization is saying we're putting our stamp of approval on this program. We are fully CACREP approved through 2022. When we went through our initial CACREP accreditation, we received the longest number of years, which was 8 years. So we've enjoyed being under that. This past year, our faculty have engaged in the writing of a very lengthy and detailed document called the self-study that gets submitted to CACREP for their review in anticipation of our reaccreditation. So what will be the next step? That document has already been submitted. The next step will be that when CACREP feels we're ready, they will come before our deadline, obviously, and do either a virtual site visit or a literal site visit. It'll depend on what's happening in our world with the pandemic, but in safety precautions. But they will do a very thorough assessment to reaccredit us. We feel like we're in great standing and we're looking forward to that. Part of their review will be that they will also, when they do this site visit, they will want input from current faculty, from current students like yourself. They also will want to speak with the faculty, but so you may end up with a role in the review process by CACREP, given that our reaccreditation cycle will happen while you're in the program. As I said, we are also, that's the Council for the Accreditation of Counseling and Related Educational Programs. I believe our next slide may talk about ERSEP a little more if that talks about CACREP. Let me make one other comment about CACREP, if we can go back to the other slide. People say, you know, what's the advantage of graduating from a CACREP accredited program? there are many advantages, but one that I want to indicate to you is this: many states in the next several years will be moving toward this stamp of approval being required, even potentially for state licensure. So there's a national movement that's happening, so that we can have more of an assurance of the quality of the academic program that you're graduating from. And many of you may have heard my spiel when you were deciding about where to go. My number one piece of advice was, whether you choose NCCU or not, I would not advise that you go to a non-KCREP accredited program, because I'm the person who gets those calls when a person realizes, I don't have what I need for licensure. You know, I could graduate from this other non-KCREP program, but now the licensing board in whatever state is saying to me, I'm lacking this and this and this. And so now, Dr. Whiting, what do? I'm the person that gets those questions from students when they're jammed up because they don't have what they need. So I just encourage you, you can read more on the KCREP website about other advantages of being KCREP accredited, but that's a significant one that's coming up. The ERSEP endorsement that we have just simply says that there are international standards for educating and training counselors, and we are on their registry. So they have put the stamp of approval on us for international standards also. Next slide. The next slide is what Dr. Horn was referring to earlier. The North Carolina Substance Abuse Professional Practice Board has a credential called the Licensed Clinical Addiction Specialist. We are one of several, but not many, schools who are Criteria C endorsed, as Dr. Horn stated to you. And what that means is that you have an opportunity, by adding 3 additional courses to the clinical mental health counseling plan of study, 3 additional courses, to add this license on. I would say to you that I want to strongly encourage you to talk with your advisor about that. It doesn't have anything to do, you don't have to pronounce that right now. It doesn't have anything to do with what you would be taking in the first semester coming in, because you need to get your foundation. All new students really take the same courses, as you will see. But it's something to think about, because in today's world, we have such a high incidence of the co-occurring situations between mental health and addiction, that those of you entering the field of clinical mental health, I would strongly urge you to talk with your advisor about this. And of course, Dr. Horn and Dr. Becton are our 2 LCAS approved folks on the faculty who teach these specialty courses. And I would encourage you to talk more with them about that.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, you certainly can.
Thank you, Dr. White. One thing I would like to add that I think is a benefit for having this particular license is that this license, once you are fully licensed and you have all of your hours, you can get the international credential for certified advanced alcohol and drug counseling. And once you get that, it has reciprocity in 47 states and over 25 different countries. So one of the benefits of this is that if you get this license, you're able to relocate without having to take another exam. And one of the other benefits is that the current exam I help design, so I try to build my courses to support students in passing that exam. So I just want you to know that it allows flexibility. The license is also recognized by state and government bodies, so you can work for the federal government or state government as a licensed clinical addiction specialist. And they look to hire people because there's a tremendous shortage of addiction specialists in the country. All right, thanks, Dr. Wiley. That's my last comment.
Thank you, Dr. Horn. I appreciate it very much. You help us understand the importance of that. On the next slide, I just want to call to your attention, this is listed in your student handbook. We do have broad program learning outcomes, regardless of whether you're in career, clinical mental health, or school. And here they are, and I'm just going to run through them very quickly. We want you to have a theoretically solid philosophy of practice. We want you to be able to serve people consistent with the American Counseling Association Code of Ethics, which is sort of our broad mother institution. And the Code of Ethics applies to all counselors in all settings. The third thing is we want you to develop during the course of your program a professional identity. And we want that identity to respond to the needs of the populations out in a diverse world. The fourth thing is we want you to be able to act with expertise at the individual, group, and family level. And we want you to be able to help diverse clients with personal, social, emotional, career, and educational issues that will impact them across their lifespan. So we're committed to that. We also want you to develop leadership ability and advocacy skills. A part of what our mission is that we want to help remove individual and systemic barriers that folks may encounter concerning the developmental needs of culturally diverse clients. And then we want you to be able to build and sustain collaborative partnerships. So depending on what track you're in the counseling program, there are stakeholders that help support schools, career centers and services, clinical mental health delivery, that kind of thing. And we want you to learn how to do that. So regardless of what program you're in, we have those learning outcomes. We also have on the next slide represented what we call counselor disposition behaviors. And so what we know about counseling is that we have knowledge and skills that we hope to help you with. And we also have the development of characteristics that are specifically congruent with the role of being a professional counselor. And so the American Counseling Association, ACA, identifies those characteristics as including confidence, sensitivity, awareness of your own limitations, your emotional stability, empathy, flexibility, open-mindedness, and tolerance for ambiguity. Those are some of the big characteristics. And so what you're going to find in the program is that there is a self-reflective piece of virtually every course and every activity that you'll be involved in, where we'll be asking you to reflect upon yourself. So it's sort of the physician know thyself kind of principle that we are not, we're unique in terms of the fact that we deliver actually our craft through who we are. And so it's very important, and we take very seriously those attributes. And at the top of those would be that the development of you as a person who is culturally responsive. So faculty serve as gatekeepers, and what that means is that we take an oath as we're training you to protect the public, because this span of time that you're in the program is right before you take on a pretty tremendous responsibility when you graduated, that is by delivering services to the public. either in schools or career centers or clinical mental health places. So what we're saying here is that being a successful student is more than just your GPA and your academic performance in a class. It also includes your well-being, your readiness, your ethics, and these characteristics that we've talked about. The program feels so strongly about this that it is theoretically possible that you could be doing quite well in the paper transaction of a class, and yet there might be some concern dispositionally that you needed some feedback around. So we have a smaller faculty committee that makes up our dispositions committee, that if there's ever an issue or a concern that arises about these kinds of things, that you would be asked to meet with that dispositions committee with the express purpose of helping you to develop more in those areas. On the next slide, a lot of those dispositional behaviors make up what we call professionalism. And professionalism, they include those characteristics or dispositions, attitudes, etc., your demeanor, your dress, your language, both in writing and orally, how you represent yourself on social media. So I ask that you start right here at the beginning of the program thinking about how you want to develop and even make a presentation now of yourself out there in the world. Because we're going to be looked at as leaders. When you have a master's degree in counseling and you're out helping people deal with some of their toughest issues and places where they're the most stuck, we want you to do that in a way that signifies I'm a true professional. And that's a part of what we're committed to doing while we're here. So you're going to see that we're going to say, there are going to be times that we're going to say, you know, you need to pay attention to the way you're physically presenting yourself as you go into a field site experience, or as you go into some of the evaluative meetings that you have with faculty along the way in a program. You want to dress professionally, speak professionally, etc. And I ask you right now to just think about what your social media presence is and what it says about you at this moment in time. And then I want you to stop and say, if the person that I love the most in this world needed to see a counselor and they saw that social media profile, would you feel good about them? Okay, I just want you to ask, I just leave you with that question, and I want you to raise your awareness about how you present yourself through social media. Enough on that. Okay, each program, and I'm not going to go through these specifically, but while I talked about program learning objectives for the overall program, you'll find that the clinical mental health program has its own unique mission and learning outcomes. The next slide talks about the school counseling mission and learning outcomes, and the final slide on this talks about the career counseling mission and program learning outcomes. Each of these programs has 4 specific program learning outcomes that are very tailored toward the delivery of counseling in those settings: career, school, clinical mental health. We also, on the next slide, want to tell you about some resources that we want you to know from the beginning. This is the North Carolina Board for the Licensed Clinical Mental Health Counselors. This is our state licensing board. We happen to be fortunate to have Dr. Kurian, who is the co-chair of the current licensure board in North Carolina. So that she is representing NCCU and the counseling profession in all of the licensure requirements within North Carolina. She's been on the board for several years and is quite an expert really on the licensure requirements. She just participated in a webinar where we talked about how to navigate the licensure process. So you need to be aware that if you are not from North Carolina, each state, Virginia, Florida, Georgia, wherever it is you're from, will have something that's equivalent to this that will help specify for you and detail for you what would be the requirements for you to become a licensed clinical mental health provider within that state. So if you do not plan on practicing in North Carolina, then I would advise you early on to just do a search yourself and to look at the website for your state licensure board. The next several slides just talk about some of our national organizations. So I've referred to ACA, the American Counseling Association. They have their own individual website. The American School Counseling Association has one. It's called ASCA. So for those of you who are studying to be professional school counselors, I call your attention to that. The career folks on the next slide also have the National Career Development Association. And so these are national resources. Here's the American Mental Health Counseling Association, AMCA, it's called. So these all have individual websites, and you should become aware, and we'll be making reference to these organizations as you go through the program. I would strongly encourage you to consider becoming a student member of the national organization that fits the best for you with your career goals. It gives you a pulse on what's happening. There are lots of benefits and a whole wealth of resources once you are a student member. Each of these organizations has an annual conference, for example, and a website filled with all different kinds of resources that might be helpful for you. If we look also at a more local kind of thing, if you are located in North Carolina, here's an example of ACA has state branches of the American Counseling Society Association has got state branches. And if you're not from North Carolina, you'll find an equivalent one, just like you will your licensing board in the state where you are. This is an example of the North Carolina Counseling Association. We regularly present both faculty and students to at their annual conference. We regularly do that, and you may have an opportunity if you're local to make a presentation with other students or with faculty to that conference. The North Carolina one is normally in February each year. Okay, one last resource that I want to tell you about is the National Honor Society Chi Sigma Iota. The individual counselor education programs have their own chapters for Chi Sigma Iota. Ours is the New Chi Chi chapter, and we just had an induction last week where students who meet the criteria for being a part of this become inductees. Could Dr. Scott, could you talk just a little bit about what's required?
Yes, so those persons who are interested, you have to have completed more than 9 credit hours, and you have to have a GPA of 3.5 and above, and also write a letter saying that you want to be involved in student leadership, and you'll be a part of us. We have inductions and we try to do service events, even though we have virtual meetings and virtual things going on. So we adapted in that sauce. So if you're interested, wait until like maybe the second semester, and we'll send out information on that. And Dr. Royal also has some information on our website about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Scott. She's one of our co-advisors with Dr. King. And this is a way to be noticed yourself, and also to develop some of those leadership skills that we talked about as a part of our objective of the program. The next two slides simply list the course names and numbers that you will find on your program of study. I have highlighted 5201, 5303, 5310, and 5381 on the next slide. You will see that the prefix for our counseling courses is CON. So virtually all but a couple of your courses on your program of study will have the prefix CON. And Damon and I sent you a Qualtrics survey that you have already filled out if you followed my directions, asking you a series of questions that gave me the information that I needed to get you enrolled in the courses that fit best with where you are coming into the program. Most of you will end up taking the ethics course and the theories course if you are taking 5201 and 5310 if you requested 2 courses. And I've already given you this piece of information in writing when you took the survey. Financial aid requires that you take 6 hours, 2 courses. So if you are hoping to finance your education through a financial aid package, then you will need to take 2 courses. Now, I took into consideration for those of you who already have another earned graduate degree, maybe it's a related degree to counseling, maybe it's not, but you already have another master's or doctorate, then I took that into account with what your program of study would look like. Okay, so we don't transfer credits for those of you that are second master's people, but we have an individualized plan of study that takes into account what you've already had. So that's why I was asking you questions on the Qualtrics measure about, do you plan on are you a second master's? What's your master's degree in? Have you taken courses before? Etc. Have you been a non-degree student with us? So that I would be putting you in the appropriate course for what you want. For those of you who ask for 9 semester hours or 3 courses, I tried to put you in Introduction to School if you're a school major, or Introduction to Clinical Mental Health, or the vocational class if you are a career person, which is CON 5320, not highlighted because I forgot it. So that's what I do if you're asking for 3 courses. Several of you emailed me asking, may I take more than that? No, you may not. A full load is 9 semester hours, and for entering students, regardless of your academic preparation prior to us, we ask that you begin with no more than 3 courses until you determine your own pace for what you need to do. What you will find is that on our website, you will find all of these courses, and you will find a corresponding current syllabus for each of these courses, and you will find a textbook list that we update every semester so that you'll know what books and what are the general requirements, etc. Now, the syllabus you look at on our website is from the last time or two that that course has been taught. So it does not mean that your syllabus is going to look exactly like that, but you can get an overview of what is required in those courses and get a feel for, what you'll be asked to do in those courses. So you can find much more information on our website about all of these classes. On that second page, you'll find that there are two EDGR courses, a stats course 5910 and a procedures and educational research class. Those two classes are the two that have a prefix different from CON. So you are required to have both of those classes. Many of you who are second graduate degree folks may have had those classes, and we may waive those classes for you because you've previously demonstrated that you have access to that knowledge base. That will be something that you'll be talking with your academic advisor about. Okay, on the next slide, you will see what's called an override form. There are some classes that we control to make certain that the right people are getting in those courses and that we don't have people from other programs getting in, etc. There are a handful of courses. Your advisor knows what those are. But as you go through the program, you will be meeting with your advisor once every semester to get prepared for the following semester. You will register yourself for the bulk of your courses, but there will be that handful group where you will need an override form from your advisor in order to register for that class. In other words, you won't be able to put yourself. So for example, internship is one of those classes. So your advisor will let you know what it is, when it is that you need an override form, and it looks something like that. On the next slide, we have an example of the program of study. This happens to be the 60 hours required in the clinical mental health program. It lists all of those courses, the credit hours, and then this is a worksheet that you and your advisor will use going forward. So I took into consideration what you're bringing in and put you in the most appropriate courses for fall. And then in your first advisement appointment with your assigned academic advisor, you'll sit down and begin to look at this. The program of study is on our website for each of our 3 tracks. So you can already see what your curriculum is going to look like. If you are transferring things in, or you're a second master's person or something of that sort, then you will discuss with your advisor the amendments that will be present for you in your program of study. The next slide. Our student handbook will also have policies for what happens if you are not satisfied with the grade that you receive and you really believe that some sort of improper grade was given. There is a policy and a grievance process that you have to follow within a certain time period in order to file what's called a grade appeal. For transfer of credit, several of you wanted me to give you a definitive answer prior to your admission to the program about would X, Y, or Z be able to be transferred in. We do take up to 12 hours of appropriate graduate work, but that has to be a part of your program of study. You have to have the approval of your advisor and the department chair, and there's paperwork that is included in that. And I will tell you right now that we'll be asking, if you're transferring credit, for another official transcript from wherever the institution is that you're transferring credit from. We cannot use the one that you used for your admission, for your application. So just get prepared for that, that you may have to pay for another official um, transcript to be sent if you plan on transferring credit. There's a certain time period. You have 6 years from the time you're admitted into the program to complete the degree. If there are extenuating circumstances, there is also a policy and procedure for how you do that. If you find yourself in a particular semester or a particular time needing to be out more than one semester without taking coursework, there is a format for how you file that. That is very important that you pay attention. Your advisor will help prompt you about this, that if you do not plan on taking courses for being out more than one semester, you must file paperwork that tells us that in order to hold your slot in the program. Next slide. We have some academic expectations. We don't give pluses and minuses. We have the ABC kind of scale. Graduate programs generally require that you perform at the AB level. And I just want to say to you from the beginning that while you may set your sights on a 4.0 and think that that you just simply must do that, I want to say to you that you don't have to have a 4.0 to go on to a doctoral program, that a B in a graduate course holds a lot of weight. Okay, you do not have to have a perfect record at the master's level. So I just want to say that to you because many of our students come in saying, they get very upset if they're in the B range in a course. And what I would say to you is take a deep breath and look at the knowledge that you gained from that course. That's much more important than what the point value is between an A or a B. We're interested in your mastery and your competence in these national standards that are the basis for the coursework that we have. If you do happen to fall below a 3.0 cumulative GPA, cumulative is all the work that you've done while you're in the program, all the semesters of work, if that ever drops below a 3.0, which is a B, a kind of cumulative average, then you'll automatically be placed on academic probation. Should you make an F in a course, you're automatically dismissed from the program and must petition for readmission. You cannot graduate from the program with more than 1 C. So if you happen to accumulate 2 C's in the program, one of those 2 courses will have to be repeated and you will have to perform at the B or the A level in order to graduate from the program. So we want you to know that from the get-go. So our expectation is high. You've been admitted because we think you've got the capability of doing graduate work. We would not set anybody up for anything less than being successful. So those are our academic expectations. There are 3 times on the next slide that if you are an online student, we hold what's called residencies. And residencies mean, and I've already talked with most of the online students about this, that there are a couple of times during the program that you may need to come on campus. Now, we're in an altered world right now because of safety restrictions with COVID. However, we're being hopeful that those will be lifted soon. There is the first residency that's required is held by WebEx, and that's what you're doing right now in the orientation. The 2 remaining residencies are associated with the group counseling course and the pre-practicum course. If you are an online student and we have safety restrictions lifted, those will occur on campus, where you'll come on campus on a Wednesday through a Friday. So those of you that are driving or flying from out of town would come in on Tuesday night, and then you would be with us a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and return on Friday afternoon. Those residencies last until noon. We give you those dates way in advance so that you can arrange travel, childcare, time off work, whatever it is that fits with your life. But just know, and I've spoken with the online students about that prior to coming in, there is a discipline to online education. And that is that many of our classes are asynchronous, which means you log in at the beginning of a week and you have a week span of time to do X amount of reading, assignments, etc. To meet the expectations of the course. The beauty of an asynchronous course online is that you can arrange your schedule. You have the flexibility to study and do work anytime you want to during that week. So you can make it fit with your life. However, there's a tendency that things can snowball on you for all of us. So you think you've got, oh, I've got 7 days or 6 days to get this done. And it can begin to snowball on you if you get behind. So what I would say to you is that if you're an online student, don't take the flexibility lightly. You still have to discipline yourself to be able to maneuver assignments from 2 to 3 courses, depending on how many you're taking, family responsibilities, job responsibilities. The far majority of you will at least be working part-time, and you're in family settings where you're either living and responsible for other people, or you have other people on the outside that you're responsible for, so and accountable to. So you need to set up a discipline for yourself. You will sink as an online student if you don't do that from the beginning. On the next slide, and I've already mentioned Dr. Blunt's responsibilities as our field site coordinator. She helps oversee our practicum and internship experience. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to make broad statements. Practicum is your first entry into practicing out in the field. So you come out of role plays into a real field site placement that is delivering services, career services, school counseling, clinical mental health. You do a 100-hour experience that is a prerequisite to a 600-hour internship. So, and you'll learn all about the sequence of all of this. This is toward the last few semesters in the program, but we want you to be thinking about, and we'll start having those conversations with you about where do you plan on working, and then back it up. What's the best field experience to give you the connections and the competencies to be hired? Internship can be broken up into 2 semesters, a 300-hour internship one semester followed by another 300-hour. That is approximately 20 hours a week on site. Plan now for that. Most of you will have to make some adjustments in your home responsibilities, certainly in your job responsibilities, and we've already talked with you about that coming into the program in your interview. If you plan on double majoring, which is an option, and you've heard me speak about that coming into the program, you will need to complete a minimum of 18 hours beyond the 60 in your primary major, and you will need to complete a second 600-hour internship in a setting consistent with that second major. So I want everybody to understand that it's a wonderful thing to double major and receive 2 master's degrees, and you can talk with your advisor about that, but it will mean that you're doing an extra 600-hour internship. Should you do those internships in one semester, it's 40 hours a week. So some of you will have the possibility for doing that, and some of you will not. But we're just putting that out. On the next slide, you see that in those field site experiences, you have what's called a memorandum of agreement, which is a legal contractual document that must be typed and signed between your site and NCCU. Dr. Blunt will walk you through how to get all of that taken care of. That's a little bit down the road before you go into practicum and internship, but know that we have to meet our legal obligations about that. Okay, I'm going to turn this at this point on the next slide to Dr. Royal, who is just going to walk you through setting up your MyEOL account. You got some instructions from the Graduate Studies Office about how to do this, but this is one of the first things that you'll want to do coming into the program. Dr. Royal?
All right. Well, thanks so far to Dr. Whiting. She's been talking, I believe, for a straight hour now. I know she would like to take a break. Well, what you see here on this screen is just NCCU's main web page, at least what it looked like at one point. And this is different than MyEOL. So, you know, the main website for NCCU is nccu.edu, but the primary way in which you will interface with just about every system on campus, whether it's the registration system or Blackboard, which is our course management system, any other forms or things that are required to be completed through the university, go through what's called MyEOL. And this is more of a intranet for the campus. You can see the web address for this. You can enter it directly, but you can also find a link to this from NCCU's main web page. And when you get to this page, you would simply click on to log into MyEOL. And I believe might be skipping a page here, but when you click on that login to MyEOL page, this particular page, the next screen that should appear should be one which is asking for your username and password. And underneath that, I believe, will be a link that says something like need help or first time, something along those lines. Maybe it even says, how do I log into MyEOL? And it should take you to this particular page. It gives you some information. When you get to this particular screen, you'll need to enter just a few things, and you should have access to this information at this point. You should have your banner ID, which in the realm of universities these days, this is your account number, your student ID number. Back in the good old days, you just use your social security number, but we no longer do that. All of the banner ID numbers start with an 820. So you should have your 820 or 820 number. Enter that into banner ID. You'll enter your banner PIN, and that should be a 6-digit number that corresponds with your birthday. So if your birthday was July 4th of 1998, then your banner PIN would be 070498. That should get you at least into accessing the ability to change your PIN. And also you'd enter your last name and then hit verify my information. At some point in between that screen and this one, you'll likely have a prompt that will ask you to change your banner pin, and you're certainly welcome to change that to whatever pin that you want. Before I do turn it back over, I want to mention that there will be 2 pins that you'll keep track of. You'll have your banner login pin, which initially starts out as your birthday, and then you can change it to whatever you want. That will be consistent during your time at NCCU. Every semester, when you meet with your advisor to talk about registration, your advisor will give you what's called a registration pin. Sometimes it's referred to as an alternate pin. It's also a 6-digit number, but it changes every single semester. So you will be unable to register yourself until you meet with your advisor, talk about classes, and your advisor then will give you that alternate or registration pin. And I believe that might be it. Dr. Whiting, did you want me to talk about the banner system, or did you want to take it from here?
If you could talk about that for a couple of minutes, that would be great.
Okay, so the screen that you see here is what's called our banner system, which you'll have access to through my EOL, Eagles Online. And the banner system is a system in which you can register for classes, you can pay your tuition, you can update your address. It's primarily the function in which you will use to just navigate the basic logistics of being a student at NCCU. And this is probably the screen I was referring to before, where you can change your banner pin. Once you're fully logged into Banner, this is the screen you'll see. So you'll see registration, view your bill, you can access financial aid, there's various forms you need to complete, request parking pass. That's pretty much the main navigation for Banner. When you did click on the registration, these are the options you'll see. Primarily, you'll look up add or drop classes. You're able to search by term. So when you do click on adding drop classes, make sure you're navigating in the correct term. So this is what it would look like currently for fall of 2021. Make sure you select counselor education. Those are that CON prefix, but when it does come time to take your stats class and your ed research class, just remember you'll no longer be looking under CON classes or counselor ed. You'll be looking for a class with the EDGR prefix, and that is Education and Graduate and Professional Studies. That particular subject area is housed under Curriculum and Instruction, which is the other department in the School of Education. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Whiting.
Okay, we're going to go through these slides very quickly because I've already talked about our nccucounseling.com website as your central source of information. You will be prompted, it's hard to read right here, but you'll be prompted to, there's Damon right there. You will be prompted to enroll in our list serve, and that's one of the key things that you want to do immediately so that you receive all of the communication that comes from our program. And this just gives you a little bit of information. Many of you have already gone on the student's homepage, and so you're aware that there's lots of information. Dr. Royal is pointing to where you would subscribe to the listserv, to the email list. And then there is a menu on the left side that's very easy to navigate. Here are your handbooks for the university, for the program, for the School of Ed. And if you just keep going, you'll find all different kinds of information. Your plan of study that I referred to earlier. Now, I want to talk about two quick things at record speed that we've not mentioned that I just want you to know. Again, looking at the larger picture. Midway through the program, you will participate in an individual meeting with faculty, with a select group of faculty, and this is called your mid-program review. This is where we take pause with where you've been in the program up to the point before you go out into the field and work with real clients. There is, this does not occur anytime before that, but what this means is that we're going to look critically at each individual student and vet you with our gatekeeping function to protect the public. We will put our stamp of approval on you for moving out into the field. That's called the mid-program review. It is done during the pre-practicum semester before you are endorsed to go into practicum. And the next slide, it has to do with your comprehensive examination. There is a standard, we call it the CPCE, the Counseling Preparation Comprehensive Examination, that is put out by the National Board, and there is a fee for this. You take this exam the semester before you graduate. And the word to the wise about this is that the information, the knowledge and the information that you gain from your very first classes, theories, ethics, etc., that information matters. Don't think that it's not going to come back to you if you take shortcuts. We don't test on every single page that you read. That would be ridiculous. That's very different. There's a different mentality for graduate education, and that is that a lot of it is self-directed, but you're still held accountable for that information. So word to the wise, don't sell your textbooks back immediately. Don't take shortcuts in your classes. Read what's assigned. Keep your notes. And as you study going along in the program, you will be getting prepared for the comprehensive exam. We have some materials that we will ask you to purchase right at the beginning of the program that helps you be successful at the end with your licensure exams and with your comprehensive exam. So be prepared that those materials will also be used and integrated over and over again in your courses that you take. Okay. Before you graduate, there will be sort of a mock interview, what we call final defense, that will be done your last semester before you graduate from the program. So you've got your mid-program review, and you've got your comprehensive exams, and you've got your final defense, and then your licensure exams that will be required. There's not a licensure exam that's required in career, but there is one for school and one for clinical mental health, and you'll be preparing for those all along. Okay. With that, I want to give you a couple of points of critical information, and then I am available to hang out for a little bit to answer any questions that may be here. This is what the information that relates most specifically to you right now. Establish your NCCU email and account from this point on. When the fall starts, we will not be communicating with you through the email that you provided in your application or through any personal Gmail account or whatever. We will only be communicating through your NCCU email. Join the listserv to get all the announcements from our program. Pay your tuition when you're prompted to do so, or you'll get dropped from your classes and have to go through a procedure to get back in classes. Keep your banner ID, that 820 number, handy. I would put it in your phone somewhere and just have it available, because you're going to use it in all kinds of ways while you're in the program. Keep your program of study available with your advisor contact information. Remember, there's no need to be in contact with them until after the fall. You're registered. And if you are not registered, it means you've got some kind of a problem that Jules and I will help you solve. It could be something that you're missing a final transcript, or if you are an undergraduate at Central, you may owe a library fine and they're not going to let you register until you pay for it, whatever. It could be something small or something larger. Jules and I will run interference for you. And on the last page, you will see that all of our classes are online, excuse me, this fall. At the time we had to set up classes, we didn't know how open our campus would be. Everybody, whether you're a campus student or an online categorized student, all your classes will be online this fall. We hope by next spring that we'll be having courses both on campus and online, depending on how you're set up. Watch in your fall classes whether you have a synchronous time that is listed in the schedule for when you meet. Some classes have an orientation night that's required on a certain night. Go ahead and look at that now so that as classes begin in August, that you will be prepared for that. You are classified as either an online or a campus student. Many of you wrote to me and said, "Oh, Dr. Whiting, I didn't put that I wanted to be online, but I really do want to be online." Well, you are categorized according to how you filled your application out. If you want to change that status, you can do so, but guess what? There's a form. And you're going to have to go through a procedure with your advisor in the fall. It's not going to change your fees for the fall because all of our classes are online. All your forms for everything that you'll need are available on our website. We've already talked about the syllabi and the textbook orders. And one last point of instruction for you. For those of you who are interested in being considered for a graduate assistant position, here's the procedure. I need you to send me an email with the subject line graduate assistant interest and a current resume. I am not in charge of allocating graduate assistants. I turn that material in to the higher ups, the higher administration, and our graduate dean makes assignments all across campus for graduate assistantships. If you are awarded an assistantship, you must take 9 semester hours, and you must be available for at least 15 hours of work with us, okay, with whoever you're assigned to on campus. Here is the bottom line to this. If you do not have an undergraduate GPA firmly that is 3.0, you are not eligible for those graduate assistantships coming in. It's a federal requirement. I can't get around it. And so there's no need for you to send me the information if you've got a 2.85, because I'm not going to be able to send your credentials forward. Please do that immediately if you're interested. Okay. And I'm available to talk with you more about that if you need further information. Those assistantships carry a very small stipend and graduate tuition for 9 hours in the fall and 9 in the spring. Okay, we're over time. I'm on your personal time now, and I apologize for that. I thank you for being here. If you don't have a question, you are free to go. I will be happy to hang out just a little bit and see if there are any other questions. I'm not seeing anything right now in the chat, but here's a question: when should we order textbooks? I would make certain that you know that you're ordering the correct textbooks. Use our textbook list. You can go ahead and order those texts through the bookstore if you are on a financial aid package and are using a voucher. or you are free to use other means to get your textbook should you want to do so. Someone's asking a question about your banner ID. Everyone should have their banner ID information. If you do not have it, it should have been on the letter that came from the Office of Graduate Studies. If you were unclear about what that is, I can give that to you. No, it's not too late to request more courses, but you need to let me know that. And then do not go to your academic advisor, come back to me, because I'm the one who registered you initially, and I can add or go down in terms of courses. If you're having difficulty with your banner ID, all of those kinds of troubleshooting things need to come to me or Jules. EOL should now show the courses that you're enrolled in. If you don't see any courses there, that's a signal that there's a problem. Be in contact with me. Be in contact with me or with Miss Joyner. The first day of fall semester is August the 16th. Let's see. I do not need you to send me things about a future interest in graduate assistantships. We're trying to get those set for the next academic year. So just hold on that and let your advisor know down the road that you're interested. You will have access to the PowerPoint for this presentation, so you can have that, and there will be a recording that you can go back and listen to things. Carrie is saying that she reviewed the letter and there's not a banner ID on it. That's fine. We can make certain that I have all the banner IDs for you. So we can let you know that. Kevin is asking a question about graduate assistants being assigned to either inside the School of Education or in our department or program or outside. It could be either way. We'll have a certain number allocated for us, and then there will be allocation in other major parts of the university, like the Counseling Center, the Women's Center, academic services, the career center, etc., have GA positions also. Let's see. You find your classes that you're enrolled in once you're signed in to my EOL. And you can rest assured that I've pretty much told you what you're enrolled in already. If you ask for 2 courses, you're transferring nothing, and you're not a second master's person, then what you're doing is you're taking ethics and theories, because those are prerequisites for everything else. Dr. Barrow is giving you the academic calendar as of now. Let's see. What else? What other kinds of questions? For the university orientation, what's the difference between orientation for first year and transfer status? Kara, I can't answer that question. I think that you will need to ask someone who's sending you that information. Like respond to that email and say, I don't know whether orientation for first year is referring to freshmen, undergraduates. So I'm not sure. I can't answer that question right now. I do not have any idea what the timeline is for hearing back for GAs. That is out of my hands. Often I will tell you it comes later rather than earlier. I would like to be able to have already known whether you were awarded a GA position or not. I've seen it come as late as June, quite honestly. Todd, I would ask you to talk with your academic advisor later about internship and practicum placement. Yes, you can apply for a GA position in the second year. Dr. Blunt's responding saying that we encourage students to complete at different sites. And all that's very individualized, so I don't want to be responding to an individual question about that. Anything else that anybody else sees in the chat that I haven't? Trying to scroll back up to see if I've missed some things. This summer, do not expect to be hearing anything else from us. Once you get registered for classes, there would be no need for you. I know that you have lots of questions about your individual situation. I ask you please to hold on those until you meet with your advisor after we get started in the fall. They can help you. Now, if you've got an issue about a GA position or an issue about your 820 number, access, etc., then Ms. Joyner and I are your contacts between now and when classes start in August. And we will troubleshoot anything that you throw our direction, and we'll find out how to get the answer for you. Anything else? You need to, the proper step for double majoring, there's a paper procedure that will be handled with your advisor after fall starts. There are always opportunities to work within the scope and the work of individual instructors and faculty members. And you'll begin to learn about what those are as you're in various classes with us. Yes, the self-service banner, Dr. Royal has written in here, is where you go to see the classes that you're registered for. Peter, I need to talk with you individually about your question here. Generally, I want to say to all of you, because several of you have asked me, can I take summer classes? The general answer is no, you cannot. You're enrolled for the fall semester. You may take classes any summer after you are after the semester that you're admitted. So that won't apply to any other summers other than this summer. Pete, you've got a different situation, so I'll talk with you individually. Anything else? Welcome. Thank you so very much for being here. We look forward to getting to know you better as you come into our program. Thank you.